Hello there, this is Jay from JCAD. I make Autocad tutorials for students and professionals in the fields of architecture and interior design. If you are new to our channel, subscribe to get our weekly tutorials on AutoCAD and other design software. In this video, I will be talking about basic snap settings in AutoCAD. And just to let you know, this video references vertices in AutoCAD, which I covered in a different video. I recommend checking that video before or after watching this video. Alright, so snapping in AutoCAD is essentially a function or a setting that allows us to reference the specific points on the geometry. You can find the snap settings on the bottom right of the interface, and you can see it here. It's part of the drafting settings, which are the collection of these commands over here. And snapping specifically, I'm going to be talking about object snapping in this video. There's also grid snap, but that's not what I'm going to be covering. So we're going to be focusing on object snap specifically. And if you don't see this icon right here, object snap, you just might need to go to the menu over here to this list and make sure 2D object snap button is checked. And here we go, it's off, and now it's back on. And you want it to be on, you want to see the button blue highlighted in blue. Alright, and I'm gonna click on this arrow beside it, and I'll be covering the snap settings that are checked here, such as endpoint, midpoint, center, geometric center, quadrant, intersection, and apparent intersection. So let's start with the first two, endpoint and midpoint. I'm gonna click outside. Right now, these are the snap settings that are active, and I will highlight the snapping by starting a line. Let's actually draw a line here. I'm gonna click anywhere, and then I'm gonna move the cursor closer to the lines that are created here earlier. I'm gonna move closer to here, and right now, if you see, once the cursor comes closer to the line, you will see a green square, and you will see the cursor saying endpoint. So basically, it's referencing that we will be exactly connecting to this point if we click here, and I'm gonna click enter to finish the line command, and you will see it perfectly connects to this point. So this is called snapping, where your geometry connects to another point or reference another point, and AutoCAD highlights that specific point on the geometry. And that was regarding the endpoint. Let's look at the midpoint. I'm going to start another line here, and then I'm going to move closer to the middle of this geometry of this line, and you will see we get a green triangle. And if you hold the cursor for a second, you will see it says that this point is the midpoint, and if you click in here, it will connect this line, the new line, to exactly the middle of the existing line we had originally here. Now, every line as a geometry, it has an endpoint on each side, and it has a midpoint in the middle. If you select the line, you will see actually, you will see these points here. So when we create a new geometry, it will actually snap to these points. It will give you green references or green symbols or icons that represent that. So the triangle represents the midpoint, and the square represents the endpoint. And I'm gonna click one more time here and to the endpoint over here and click enter. And then of course we can start a new line, and then we can draw directly from the midpoint of this line to the midpoint of this line to the midpoint of the third line over here. Alright, and I'm gonna click enter right now to finish the line command. Alright, so let's look into our next snapping option. These geometries that I drew earlier, I just wanted to represent the different element types in AutoCAD. So lines, I drew the three lines that I had here using the line command. I drew this rectangle using the polyline command, or rectangle. A rectangle is essentially a polyline. And this is a polygon, but the polygon in AutoCAD is also a polyline. Alright, and then circle, ellipse, and arc. So let's see our next options here. So we have center. So the center snap basically works on circle, ellipse, and arc. And also the center, so it works on the circle, ellipse, and the arc. So let me show you that. So I'm gonna start a align command, and then I'm gonna click anywhere outside, and to snap to this center of the of a circle, obviously you can see here we don't see it. I'm gonna zoom in and out to hide it. So right now we can't see the center of the circle. For us to be able to see it, you just need to touch the perimeter of the circle with the cursor, and then here we will get a small plus sign in the center of the circle, and if we move the cursor toward that, you will see it says center, and that will give us the center of the circle. And now we can draw based on that. All right, and I'm gonna start a line command again, and the same for the ellipse. If you just touch the perimeter, the center of the ellipse will show up, and then you can draw based on it. And the same for the arc. I'm just gonna touch the arc, and the arc, since it's a circular shape, it also has a center. And here we go. Once you touch the arc, it will show up. Then I'm gonna click here. I didn't mean to click outside, but I can click, for example, something like this, and I'll get rid of this line. All right. So that's regarding the center for that it works on the circle, ellipse, and arc. And here I'm just gonna look into the midpoint for the polyline again. So we can click here, here, here. We can click something like this, and the same here. You can draw from endpoint to endpoint, and every edge gets a midpoint here. So you can literally draw something like this, just to highlight the endpoint and midpoint a little bit more. All right, so I'm gonna make a copy of these guys too. I will need a clean version of them for my next demonstration, which is basically the geometric center. Just like the circle, ellipse, and arc, they have a center. Also, geometries like this rectangle here or the polygon here, they also have a center for them. So, and that is called geometric center, and it's pretty much here. You can see, and this is how this is just a representation of it. So, let's click here on line, the line command. Okay, let me start it again. So start the line command again, and then here, if we touch the perimeter of this rectangle right here, we will also get the center, and then we can click from here, for example, and start to draw. Gonna click enter again, so we can draw something like this. And the same with the polygon. Start the line command again. Just by touching the perimeter, we will get this point. By the way, if you zoom in or out, you will lose the center references for either the geometric center or for the circle. Actually, you will lose any references you might see on the snap points. So right now, the circle, I can see the center of it by just touching here, and we get the small plus sign. The ellipse the same, the arc by touching. I'm just literally touching, I'm not clicking anything. Just putting the cursor on top of the geometry, and the same here. And you can see now we get the center here, here, and here, and here, the geometric centers for these two shapes. And regarding the geometric center, you will only get it when you have a closed geometry. So if I make a polyline right now with an odd shape, something like this, for example, this geometry also has a center, and if you just touch the perimeter, this point right here represents the center of this geometry. Autocad calculates it and figure it out, and it will show you it. But usually I use it for finding the center of a rectangle. For example, here, if I want to draw a circle in the center of this rectangle, then I can find the point, and then I can do something like this. And the same with this one, I can draw like this, and another one maybe to the outside, and we get a shape like this. All right, and now moving forward with the other snap points we have here, let's talk about the next one. Let's talk about the quadrant. So the circle and the ellipse have quadrant points, which I will show you where they are. They're kind of marked in the quarter of each geometry. So the circle has them here, and they have the diamond shape. A green diamond will show up when you are referencing the quadrants, and the same on the ellipse. If you just come closer to the quarters here, we will get them, and you will see this is the quadrant snap point. All right. And the next one I want to tell you is the intersection snap point. So intersection, and there's also apparent intersection. You would want to turn these two on together. And an intersection, basically, that any time that any geometry cross each other, you'll be able to reference the point that meet between them. So if I have a line that literally cross all of these lines right here, we will have an intersection point here, one here, one here, and one here. And then you can see we will get a green X sign that represent intersection. And you can see here it says intersection and another intersection here. So maybe we will draw something like this and something like this. And even if it intersects with another geometry like a circle, let's say we have something that goes like this. So we're able to reference this point to this point right here. All right, so these are the intersection. And apparent intersection, I don't know exactly when it would occur, but usually I would use it always with intersection because I want to get the same effect. All right. And that was it regarding the snap settings, or the basic snap settings in AutoCAD. The endpoint, midpoint, we got the center, we got the geometric center on these two geometries or on this one. And I also showed you intersection, and better have apparent intersection active with it as well.